Good morning. Very early morning. We're recording in nature.
Hey, Scott from aristocab.com here.
And Seth is here as well.
And together, the three of us, we are Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. Easy for me to say. And yes, we are recording in nature. If you hear any crickets or grasshoppers, that's because there's crickets, grasshoppers. And if you hear this one cry like a little girl, it's because the wasps that are above us are going to start waking up as we light up our pipes.
Now, I did spray that nest not long ago.
It's over there right now.
Yeah, well, there's one there. There are two of them up here someplace.
Nice.
Also, there are beetles all over the place, and sometimes I just scream like a little girl because it's cathartic.
It's going to happen. So let's just roll with it. So let's get something going here.
Smoking.
We are smoking some Spinnaker from Sutliff. Well, we're not smoking it yet, but we're about to smoke it. And let's see. On the label, it says that it is burley and black Cavendish with a delightful mixture of sweet and tart. Smell that.
All of those words have been used to describe me at one time or another.
Smell that. My gosh, that has got a very strong sweet tart smell to it. Let me give you, well, first off, a Spinnaker is that front three-sided sail that flies out, that billows out in front of a sailboat.
Can I just say, look,
that's a Spinnaker.
Thank you, Sutliff, for the tobacco. I'm not excited about this at all. This
it's got a sweet tart slash Play-Doh smell to it.
No,
Play-Doh. I'm getting Play-Doh. Anyway, here's what's written about it. Burley and black Cavendish with a delightful mixture of sweet and tart. Here we go. Sailing is, as in all sports, has its own jargon understood only by interested fans. If you've ever admired the beauty of a sailboat gracefully gliding with a brightly colored head sail, then you've seen a Spinnaker. Open yourself up to a new and exciting experience by trying this delightful mixture of sweet burley and tart Cavendish. Now, what does sweet burley and tart Cavendish have to do with a Spinnaker?
Well, what they did is they took the Spinnaker and made some tobacco with it, and they covered it in cherry cough syrup.
That's what it is.
That's what that smells like. I mean,
you know what? You're right. It is
such a strong, such a powerful cherry cough syrup smell that it's almost like you know how if you let something some liquid evaporate and create a reduction, it almost smells like a cherry cough syrup reduction.
Well, you know what?
The smell is even more potent.
To me, it's not
cherry
medicine. Cherry medicine as much as it's cherry. I tell you what, if this isn't awesome, we're going to send it to Jay Dagner. What do you say? He'll smoke it.
Okay.
He smokes anything cherry.
Ooh, see that lightning?
Yep.
You have one of these things for me? Thanks.
Hey, wait a second. That's mine.
Not tonight.
You mean this morning?
You heard me. You heard what I said.
So, a couple things.
Where are you going?
Let's see. This weekend, I'll be in Toronto. Next week, I'll be in Chicago. The week after that, someplace else.
You gonna have some Geno's East?
Yeah, I hope so. There's plenty of places to go.
Italian beef?
I don't know. The schedule is pretty tight, but it could happen. Yeah, we have a storm coming in.
Yeah, we do. Hey, so this is something I bought on Fast Tech a while ago and I've never used for this application. This is a cheap little it may run out immediately.
What is it?
It's a torch. But it has a switch that turns it into lighter mode.
Into the Statue of Liberty torch?
Yeah.
Now, is that sold as a torch, or what is the purpose of it? What is the stated purpose?
It's fast tech. I don't know that there's a stated purpose, and I'm pretty sure this was like a quarter and 2 yen. So that's what, like $1.75.
So if you have a yen to own one of those, you'll take one more yen. Wow.
Get it a yen.
So yeah, doing a lot of travel. That's not really new news. That's just the way it is. So we're going to record a couple videos here, hopefully. So we'll look the same. Now, one thing about you, you look a lot different than the last time I saw you. Partially because, first off, when I saw Boy this weekend, he was preparing himself for a party, and part of that party was to come with your worst-looking mustache. So he shaved off his goatee, but left this Fu Manchu-looking mustache on, and then he also shaved his head like you see here.
It was the 4th of July stash bash. So everybody, the men and the women and the follically challenged, all had mustaches. Our friends, their neighborhood has a neighborhood community parade, and so we went out there for the 4th, and everyone was shaved up. We're recording this Monday evening. This morning, I had a really, really strong internal debate about whether I should leave the mustache and just let it radiate from my coworkers. And then I had this moment of acknowledgement that I might have to visit a customer today, and I should probably not have this mustache. And wouldn't you know, today I spent a good long time at a customer's house doing a customer resolution. You know, I'm glad that I looked like I'm 12 and not like I look like I like 12. So I'll take it.
It looks so bad. I cannot overstate how bad it looked. Sorry, boy. Just the way it is.
You know what this tastes like?
What?
This, the amount of cherry in this, and the way that it presents itself. This is the blue e-cig. The cherry blue e-cig.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the exact same profile, the exact same really strong cherry flavor, but also very manufactured cherry flavor.
Yeah.
And it's coming through in the tobacco.
And what's weird is it's sweet without tasting sweet. I'm getting no sweetness, but that it's like a real high note. You notice that? I'm hoping that the casing is going to disappear here shortly, and we'll just get down to the tobacco. But man, so far not awesome. So let's see. Besides my travel, this week we began distributing the 20 Chris Morgan designed reverse calabash CobWasp pipes. He calls it a corn wasp. I call it a CobWasp for two reasons. One, it's made of a cob. It's not made of corn. And secondly, I was able to make a hashtag AristoCobWasp out of that. So that's why it is a CobWasp. But we have 20 of them, and we've been offering 2 a day up for sale, which has not been without controversy. There are some folks that interact with me in different forms of social media who feel that what would be fair would be to gather the names into a hat and each day add more names to that hat till ultimately everybody's name is in the same hat. And I have a couple problems with that. The first,
you don't have enough hats.
I don't have enough hats. The first one being my largest audience is on YouTube. It just is. And so right off the bat, there was a big pile of people in the hat. So the second day, another lower level of audience is on Instagram. Then the next day, an even lower, smaller level of audience is on Facebook. And then the next day, an even smaller level of audience is on Twitter. Well, you know, on the one hand, it would be nice for the folks that got their name in the hat on the first day to have been in that hat for 4 days drawing.
In perpetuity.
Right. But I'd like to encourage people to get over to Instagram and get involved there. Get over to Twitter, get involved. And I don't. I mentioned this early on. I really don't care about fair. Fair does not enter into this conversation. If I'd stuck them all on my website and said, "Hey, we have them," they'd be gone in less than a day. And
that would be fair to you.
And I have my money back. Whoop-de-frickin' do. I'm more interested in using this as a way to get in touch with some other people and to get you guys plugged into different forms of social media where I hang out. And if you don't like that, then you'll see the post on Facebook about every fourth day, or on YouTube about every fourth day. Or follow me on those other places and get your name in the hat more times. I sound really grumpy about this, but it took me a while of thinking, how am I going to do this?
Right.
And in entering into my opinion of what is fair. And to me, what's fair is that the people that follow me on Instagram are in one pool and they stand a chance to get. In fact, get this. The folks on YouTube, all they did was they commented, "I'm in." The folks on Instagram posted a picture of mine, plus added a hashtag, and directed people basically to my Instagram account. Right. Those people did a lot more than the folks that commented, "I'm in." Right. So, to me, I appreciate that contribution to my, what do we call it, my channel, right? Mm-hmm. My Instagram account. I do nothing on Twitter, so extending this at least one day to the folks that follow me on Twitter. Twitter for me is just something I automatically have set up when I post a video on YouTube and a couple other things. But every now and then I get it in my system to put something on Twitter. I'm going to post something on Twitter for those people and find a way to get them involved in this contest. This opportunity to buy this wonderful pipe.
Yeah, it's one of those things that the reality is, if it's that important to you, and if you sincerely don't care enough about the channels that you're following, freaking subscribe for 2 weeks, and and then unsubscribe. People do that all the time.
Sure.
With things, and people there are a lot of people that have created accounts to things for no purpose other than to try to get free stuff.
Sure.
And you can't get onto Instagram without seeing the post this to win this knife.
Well,
things.
and again, to be fair, these people are committing to buying about a $50 pipe.
Right.
So this isn't free.
Yeah.
But if it means enough to you that you want to be sure you get one, I'm making an opportunity every day somewhere to get your name in the hat for 2 of them. And again, we think about what's fair. I've got people that are absolutely engaged with me on Facebook, who comment and like every time I post something on Facebook. Those people, as far as I'm concerned, deserve a chance to participate. Now, I could say, hey, I've just posted a video over on YouTube, go participate over on YouTube.
Right.
But I don't like jumping medias. If the way they want to interact with me is Facebook, then I'm gonna meet them where they are.
Right.
To force that person, just like forcing the YouTube user to have to go over to Instagram. So, anyway, I'm a little grumpy about this right now. I just want these pipes
to find good. To find
the pocket. To find
salad eater.
That's true. I just want these pipes to find good homes. People that would appreciate them. So far, the folks, I think, are very enthusiastic about receiving one, and I'm so glad I didn't just put them on my website.
Yeah. We got homeless pipes, people. Let's get these pipes a home.
I'd be happy holding on to a half dozen of them, personally.
Yeah, I'll take one.
So, so far, I've committed to distributing all of them.
Yeah.
I'm not even holding on to one. I may change my mind. I may put my name in the hat.
Yeah, me too. I need to start following you on the Instagrams.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe the last day, it'll be anybody who buys me a biscuit while in town of the town of High Point. I'm not sure that I'll be in High Point while on the last day.
Well, yeah, but there will be a biscuit with your name on it, sir. in High Point.
All right. Well, then you'll have an opportunity to pay me $50 for a pipe.
Excellent. A pass. That's going to be a hard pass. And I've just decided I'm eating your biscuit. So I'm going to be buying me a biscuit.
You going to drink my milkshake too?
I might. I might.
So what else you got? You got some interesting things.
No, that's next week.
I don't know if you can see what's on the table here. There's so much stuff.
Don't worry about it.
All right, so we don't have time. We're going to try to keep these short.
No, because you wanted to talk about podcasting.
I do want to talk about podcasting.
Or do you want to keep this short? Trust me, you do not want to get into what I have brought to the table right now. You want that to be the last thing that we accomplish.
All right, so I'm really curious about podcasting. I listen to podcasts whenever I travel, which means I'm listening to podcasts quite frequently.
Did you say you're Podcurious?
I will not say that.
I will.
But I listen to quite a number of podcasts. And I'm curious about, do any of you have a podcast? Do any of you listen to podcasts? Would you be interested in either a Markwood Men's Breakfast Club podcast or a podcast that consists of, perhaps it's just me. With our schedule, it's really hard for us to do this. Maybe it's just me interviewing other people.
That's okay. I've just thought of my podcast. On my podcast.
What's your podcast? Boy?
My Wiener Your Mouth. The podcast. For those who may be Podcurious, will you subscribe? For those of you that have never been, please visit mywieneryourmouth.com. It doesn't matter how you spell wiener.
We dare you.
It'll take you there anyway.
So anyway, there's the question. Do you listen to podcasts? Would you be interested in a podcast? If so, what would you want to hear in a podcast? I mean, the just us sitting and chatting for 30 to 45 minutes, which tends to be what I see in the podcast I subscribe to, I don't know that we could sustain that. We could take these programs and just take the video away and stick them on a podcast, but then so much of what we're doing doesn't translate to audio only, I think.
Right.
We could record these with that intention,
yeah,
but then it would be a completely different show, right?
Some of the one of the podcasts I listen to starts as a live video recording, and then they turn it into a video podcast. They upload the video to YouTube, and then they also offer an audio podcast. And they are incredibly good about remembering their audio listeners.
Is that tested?
And no. No, it's Rooster Teeth podcast. They're a gaming company. And there are several people that are regulars on there that are even just stand out at this, but they're always very good about, explaining things for people that may not be aware of the company and what they do, and then also explaining things for the audio listeners that can't see what's going on. So a lot of times people are just cracking up at something, and someone's always right there to say, what's going on and why it's so funny.
I listened to Ear Biscuits by Rhett and Link, and they do a pretty good job. It's difficult because they have two hosts and usually one guest, and they have such different, Rhett and Link have such different approaches to their guests. And there are times that I think, gosh, I wish this were just one or the other. And in the moment I think that, the other one contributes something really valuable. So, but it might be easier, certainly would be easier for our schedules if we tried to, with just me interviewing somebody and maybe just you interviewing somebody. I don't know. But we've talked about this for quite a long time, and I'm not sure how we would fit it into our schedule, but I'm really interested in trying it. So, I don't know. And is it smoking related? Is it woodworking? Is it a hodgepodge? Is it manliness? Because, that's what we have going. Is it magic for you? What do we call that?
But where'd the extra thumb come from? Illusions. not magic.
So really, that's it. I mean, I have nothing really significant to say about it,
What
except
do
for the
you-
fact I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, I do too. Quite a few.
But that's because you travel in your car a lot.
I do. I've got a 35-minute commute twice a day, and so I found a couple of podcasts that I enjoy. Several are gaming related. A lot of them are just nonsense. Some of them are more serious. One that I found that has surprised me is the Joe Rogan podcast. Joe Rogan being
My gosh.
the old host of Fear
Yeah.
Factor, and he's now an MMA host. And
Wow. What
and-
TV show did he used to be on?
News Radio. News
Wow.
Radio with Andy Dick and Phil Hartman.
My gosh.
And
lightning
what's his
bug?
it's a
Or a
beetle.
wasp or a
What's
beetle?
his face from Kids in the Hall? David, what's his name? From Kids in the Hall.
Yeah, he was the boss.
Yeah. And what's so the caveat is some of his episodes he's a big douchebag. Some of his episodes are just like real stupid. Several of them, and I've only listened to like 5 or 6. A couple of them I'm pretty sure he's high throughout the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean his podcasts are 3 hours long, and he puts
Oh, my
3 out a
gosh.
week. So it's absurd. Yeah,
So he's like has a morning talk show.
kind of.
basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
But what's surprised me, he does some kind of fringy stuff. So he's into psychedelic drugs for mental agility and some weird stuff. But some of the things that he has guests on the show, and there have been just some phenomenal guests. He's had one guy who is a Bitcoin expert, and he talks about everything about Bitcoin as a currency, Bitcoin, how to use it, why it's so important. He had one where he had the guy who, this guy did a TED Talk that's one of their most popular TED Talks on urban gardens, and he lives in New York, or I think he lives in Los Angeles, and he planted a garden in the little patch of grass on his sidewalk. And, he was, I don't know if he was arrested, but he was given tickets for doing that. And he said, this is public space. Why can I do this? And if I can do this, why can't everyone do this?
But the dogs
And
in the neighborhood love that.
yeah, and he did a TED Talk about this, and he's a black hip hop guy who's talking about. He says, plants and gardens are sexy, and he talks about how the soil is sexy. It gives life. It's he just gets into it, and he has this vision for planting gardens, and he said, you can have gardens in your backyard and all over the place, and we can feed people that we can't feed right now, people that aren't able to afford high grocery prices. We can grow things in our communities, and one plot of land could feed a whole neighborhood, and so it's just very fascinating. There have been several.
You know what they used to
of
call
his
that?
episodes.
They used to call those farms.
Yeah. Yes, but in an urban setting, they don't exist. And so in that episode in particular, he talks about a little bit conspiracy theory, but he says, why are cities built the way that they are? They don't allow for farms. They're built for people to stack on top of each other, and
Push out the
what
farmer.
what it does is it puts the control in the hands of the groceries, because without groceries we have no food, and we have to have food. And so if you take up all of the land with homes, then you have or buildings, there's no space for farm, there's no place for the community to be self-sufficient as it comes to food.
Yeah, but if you live in a city, you're right. You just eliminated the possibility of having a garden.
Right.
So I mean, it's part of it is
unless
the
you're
choice,
growing in the
choice of your location.
unless you're growing in the soil that's available
Yeah.
to you. So
that's a podcast you listen to.
yeah, it's I pick and choose. I don't listen to it. I don't listen to every episode.
Normally, when he's talking about his psychotropic drugs.
Yeah, well, he was talking with that. He tends to leave that stuff to when he's talking with some of his buddies. You know, he has guests that are on pretty consistently that they're just kind of his kind of lay back and shoot the crap kind of guests. Right. And some comedians. He's a stand-up comedian, and so you know, when they're doing that, they talk about the stuff. They talk about how they go to whatever country and have tried this and that, and so I listen to all those. But he does have some really fascinating guests. The other thing is, what app do you use for your podcasts?
To listen to the podcast?
Yes.
I'm just using the standard Apple app, the podcast app, right? So I'm just listening to it straight on the podcast app that came with the iPad, and with that I can speed the performances up. Some of them I can actually listen to at higher speed, some I can't.
Right.
Just depends upon the accents of the speakers and how many of them are talking, right, and their cadence. Jimmy DiResta and two other guys whose names are slipping me right now, but all three woodworkers. I can't speed that up too fast because Jimmy's kind of a fast talker from New York. But a few of the others I listen to at a higher speed. Pat Flynn, I tend to speed him up, unless, of course, there's a guest that speaks fast.
Yeah.
How about you? What app do you use?
I use Downcast. I can't stand the generic Apple app.
So what do you get from Downcast?
It's got, and a lot of the things are crossover, so it's got really great search abilities. It's got really great ability to add podcasts from external links. So people that have podcasts that don't have them easily listed, you can add them in there. It handles them really well, and it lets you set global rules for how you want your podcast to be handled, and it also lets you set individual rules for how you want individual podcasts to be handled. So the global settings might be download the 5 most recent podcasts.
Right.
Individual settings, like I've got one that says keep all new until I've listened to XYZ past a certain date. And so it just has a lot of options for setting that up for automation, and
some of those options are available in the app.
Yeah, and some of them aren't, but it allows for really great streaming, so you can stream it. You can also save it for offline play, and you can also save it for streaming. So you can save a database of podcasts that you want to listen to for streaming without actually downloading them and them taking up space on your... So I use it on my phone and my iPad.
I know there are people that use an RSS feed.
Yeah.
Is that the case with these ones that you're talking about that aren't, like, are they not on iTunes?
Yeah, ones that aren't uploaded, but I mean it has a better search than iTunes because it's not limiting its search just to iTunes.
Right.
But yeah, so all a podcast it's just an RSS feed that's pointing to a file that someone's uploaded on their website.
Right.
So iTunes doesn't host any podcasts. They're not. The podcast isn't actually
they're just
on
curating
their servers. They just, when you go to, it's basically like Google. You go there and you say, oh yeah, I like this one. Click, and then when you click it, it's actually streaming from and downloading from the user's site. So it makes creating a podcast a little bit more challenging. It's not as simple. Somewhere. You've got to store it somewhere. You've got to have it set up the right way. You've got to have the links, the RSS links, set up properly. And so it's a lot more challenging than just saying, oh, I'll record this MP3 and upload it to iTunes.
Right.
You can't do that. It's not a very user-friendly process.
Dang it.
Yeah. There are features, there are companies that you can become a member of and you can pay for services that'll make it easy. You pay them, you upload it there. And then, like SoundCloud is one.
Yeah, SoundCloud,
that you can,
I listen to something.
You can, I think SoundCloud has the export feature. So if you pay for the bandwidth on SoundCloud, you can upload it to iTunes. But then everyone that listens to it is pulling on your bandwidth. So...
All right, so just for the sake of time, I think we need to wrap this up.
Let's do it.
But I am very curious about your use of or participation in or production of podcasts.
Podcurious.
And again, if it's something that you think that one or both or all of us should do, what would you want to hear? How often would you listen to it? How long should they be? Should we take Markwood Men's Breakfast Club and record it with the intention of releasing audio only as a podcast?
That sounds like more work.
Yeah,
just open it on YouTube and put your phone face down.
You know, Boontar does have an app that he downloads the audio, and then he listens to our shows. Which he's also mentioned is one of the reasons why he doesn't leave a lot of comments, but he's out there because he's listening. He's not able to interact. Anyway. All right, so we'll wrap it up. Guys, thanks for watching. Make it a great week, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye.